Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. We have another great episode of the DadBod Inc. podcast. Another great guest, someone whom I'm excited to talk to today because he embodies everything that I love about this individual and just sort of what a dad should be in general. I think from the mindset standpoint, the body and everything else. So with no further ado, I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Mr. Todd Price.
What's up, brother?
All right, big man.
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Awesome. I appreciate you taking the time today for hopping on. What we do on this podcast is a little bit different. Everyone sort of like I think sees the success, sees the limelight, right? Sees all the big things, the shiny stars, and all I guess the material objects and stuff, but they don't see a lot of the time many of the individuals that just live their life, right? And what I mean by that is just sort of the things that I don't know, some people take for granted, but for me, it's my driving force behind everything I do, right? So we talk about I call it the unsexy business, I guess, sometimes of being a dad, right? Being in the trenches. But when I started just DadBod Inc., I was getting fed up. I don't know if you've seen, like, it's funny because I'd go into like Planet Fitness when I was at my daughter's college, and it's the only gym around. I go in and it's Friday night and they're serving people pizza. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then the other day, it was funny because I was in there a couple of weeks ago and they're serving people Tootsie Rolls. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's interesting because their business model, they say they don't want people like us in there, right? That's why they take 100-pound dumbbells and everything up and mix it all up. But to me, I think the business, like I said, being a dad's really, it's the business of being a dad, right? Because like, I think we as fathers and people in general look at business and we say, hey, wow, we need an ROI. We need to be like, that's our reputation. But then a lot of people just take it for granted. But so let's get into this. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know I should have started that off. I apologize. You're a serial entrepreneur. You're the CEO of Perimeter Roofing. You've got multiple different companies. You got Priceless Apparel and Nutrition. You're a Saudi speaker. You've been on many big podcasts. You do a lot of different things like that. But give us a little bit of background into sort of Todd Price.
Yeah. So I initially started what I call my first real job, because growing up, I think I started working with my dad initially, like when I was super young. And then my first like job was at the skating rink, DJing and working the skate room and different shit like that. But as soon as I graduated high school, I went straight into the gym industry. And so started out at LA Fitness and started in membership sales. And I was like, I don't like this. This is stupid. I want to be over there with the trainers. Like, that's what I like. I like helping people. I like the working out aspect. I don't want to sit here and sell people memberships. That's boring to me. So I got into the training side of things and worked my way up. Obviously, I'm sure you're aware of this. A lot of people, I feel like, aren't aware of this, but in the gym industry, everybody thinks the gym industry is a bunch of health nuts, but it's a lot of it's complete opposite. There's so much drug use and I don't mean like steroids. I mean like actual drug use and alcohol and things of that nature that just run rampant across the gyms. So it introduced me kind of to a dark side, and I went down a bad path. And then I stayed on that path for a long time, became an addict, was homeless, was stealing hot dogs from QT to survive, to just have food to eat. I was in a jail and fights. I remember my mom calling me crying and me thinking, which is crazy because now that I have kids, like I look back at myself and I'm like, man, you were a fucking asshole. But like, I remember my mom calling me crying and me thinking like, Mom, I'm fine. Like, quit. Like, what are you worried about? Like, I'm fine. Just being so nonchalant about it. But I went down a real rough path and didn't have anything for a long time, and then hit rock bottom one year. Was just terrible. Went through a ton of different issues with my life and my health and fights and being robbed at gunpoint and drugged and got beat with a wrench by 9 guys and had my jaw broken 4 times, skull cracked open and head split and all sorts of stuff. So after that, I really the wake up call for me, which is weird because you know, I had all these issues that kind of jeopardized my life, so to speak, but I never really cared. But I got into a hit and run, and then the hit and run made me start, like, I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh my God, like I could have hurt somebody. And it was a real minor fender bender. No, luckily nobody got hurt, but like I started thinking, and I think mainly because it was a minivan that I hit. I do remember that. But I started thinking, like, what if there were kids in there? What if one of the kids jumped out when I took off? Like, what? So I started thinking about other people, and I was like, man, I can't do this. Like, I'm gonna end up like fuck myself, but I'm gonna end up killing somebody else, and like I don't want to do that. And I called my mom and met up with her, broke down crying to her, and told her, like, hey, if you'll let me come back home, which of course she did. They were the best parents I could ever ask for. I left and was just an idiot on my own accord, not because of them for any means. But I said, if you let me come back home, you know, I'll quit drinking. And I hadn't had a drop since then. We just passed 13 years a couple of days ago.
Awesome. Congrats,
So did that, went back into the gym industry, worked my way back up the ranks, became a regional manager again, and basically got recruited from different gym to different gym. I've worked for just about every gym company there is out there, but went from gym to gym as a regional manager until I finally met my now wife and said, gym hours just aren't cutting it anymore. And so going into business and having less time was what I decided to do. But gym hours and money wasn't cutting it anymore. And so we just took a leap of faith while she worked and made like $400 a week to try to support us, and had to figure out what bills to pay and what not to pay, and, you know, struggle for a little while. And then finally, when I got to where I was making decent money after a period of time, I said, that's it. No more working for you. You're good. Stay home, take care of the kids, and you'll never have to work again unless you want to. So it's been quite an adventure, but it's been fun. I wouldn't change it. I've learned a ton. You know, it's made me appreciate, you know, where I'm at and everything that I've had. So
that's awesome. Sounds like that's quite the story. I'm sure there's more to unpack there, but it's just a roller coaster of different things over the years. So
yeah, that's the short version. There's
I know, I'm sure there's a long version, buddy, but
yeah,
I appreciate you sharing that. I think that sets context to some of those things are not as bad on my end, but yeah, a lot of similarities and different things, a lot of different wake-up calls right in life.
Yeah,
I think wake-up calls, to me, it's like, I'm a big believer that things always happen for a reason. And I don't know, to me, it's not our plan, it's God's plan. So a lot of that unpacks on its own. But when you think of the term dad bod, right? Because like this is this big thing, and like dad bod is, I don't know, there's all this craziness, right? And it was funny because I saw somewhere else, I don't know if I have it here, but I said into Chat GPT, right? AI. I was like, what's dad bod? Okay. And they come back and they said, hey, it's a way to acknowledge that some men may have bodies that reflect their circumstances and priorities. I'm like, what the hell? To me, that's an excuse, right? So I was going to ask you, when you hear the term dad bod, right? What does that mean to you?
So like, and it's funny because it depends on how you think of it. And I understand how most people think of it, and because of how it's personified, or because of the term, like just of how it's publicized, I guess. Yeah. But you know, I actually have a shirt on my website that says, "This is my dad bod."
Yeah.
And it's because
I have one too that says F normal dad bod sort of thing. But yeah, I understand
that. But like when I think of dad bod, like that's all the more like if you have kids, like that's all the more reason to be in shape and lead by example. Like my kids will tell me like how big daddy's muscles are, or daddy's stronger, or my daddy's the strongest daddy at the school, or this or that, you know, because one, I am, but because two, like, you know what I mean? Like, I want them to understand, like, you know, they see me doing things that some of the times, obviously, you enjoy working out, but you don't want to go every single day. Sometimes you don't want to do it, but it's part of it, and they see that and they understand that. And that transfers over into everything that you do in life. And they see that the discipline that I have with not only the food that I eat, but then also the working out, or like the cold plunge, or different things like that. And I want them to see that structure and be proud of who I don't want them to see me fucking take my shirt off and have, tits and look like
agree.
shit. So, I want them to be proud of, and I want them to know that like I have their back and like them feel safe and secure, not be some skinny little wimp or some fat dude that can't do anything. Like I want them to know, like when daddy tells you I have your back and I'll never let anything happen to you, they believe that. They know daddy's not lying.
Yeah, to me, it's a bit accountability and responsibility, right? If you're going to be a dad, that's your kid. You have to be accountable and responsible to your kids and stuff. But so let's you answered a bunch of questions I was going to jump into, so I'll unpack some of those. But what are the ages of your two kids?
So I have Evelyn is 6. She'll be 7 in December. 7 going on fucking 30.
I was just gonna say that 7 going on 16, buddy. So
yeah. And then Cohen is 4.
Yeah.
And then we actually have little Cyrus who just turned a year old.
Dude, that's awesome. 3, same as here. So it's funny because I got the 2 boys and a girl. Mine are, of course, all different, but I was like, dude, boys, to me, I'll call my princess in the middle, all going through that craziness of like high school and stuff and drill captain. Man, girls are ruthless. Okay. I'm like, at least with guys, they go punch each other in the head and it's over with, right? Girls, it's craziness, the level of, anyway, so that's another story. But so I guess for you, what would you say one of the most underrated but most important skills that you believe a dad should possess? You unpacked some of them there, I think, a little bit, but like, what if you had to say like that one thing?
I think I think if you had to encompass it into one word, for me it would be security, and you could look at it from different angles, but like when I think of like my family, I need to be the security for them, not only from a physical standpoint, but also from a protector, a financial, everything across the board. They shouldn't have anything to worry about. They should know that like I'm taking care of everything. Money, we have food, we have protection, we have shelter, we have everything that we need. I have it. Don't worry about it. Like just have fun. Yeah. And I feel like that's the main, if I had to narrow it down to one key element, that's the thing. No. So my kids know that they're not going to go without a meal, no matter what. If shit hit the fan, I had to sell every car I have or what, it's going to happen. They're not going to go without a meal. Yep. They have a place to lay down at night, and I'll never let anything happen to them.
Awesome. So, I love it. I look at that the same way. It's also like in my mind, like that dad, right, should be that superhero. Okay. Larger than life, right? The kids want to talk about them at school and stuff. I don't want my kids going and saying, hey, like, and also for me, dude, we'll talk about this, but it's a bit longevity and stuff, right? As your kids grow older, I don't want to be the guy that can't bend over and friggin' go pick up the football and different things. And not because it's an ailment, it's because I got some 300-pound beer belly or something. I don't
or go on like the field trips and have, like, I remember growing up, like everybody wanted my dad to go on the field trips because he was the cool one. He had all the tattoos. Yep. He was super muscular, like, and like I knew, and like everybody in this town that's older knows my dad. Yeah. He's born and raised here. They know him, and they knew like you did not fuck with him back in the day. And people will still tell me stories, about. So I looked at him like that growing up too. Like I knew that if dad was around, we were good.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty cool as well as your kids grow older and stuff, right? And you have their friends over and stuff, and you're sitting right there with your shirt off, and they're all like they're mid-teens or whatever, but then they're working out and stuff, and they're asking like, holy shit, how do you get like that? Or like, hey, come lift. Like that's cool things. But so I guess evolving and growing as a man and role model, like it's I don't know, to me it involves continuous learning, evolving, and self-improvement. That's what you talked about, right? But so I guess what are some ways that you could be a positive role model? You've mentioned like a whole bunch there, but like when they see you, right, what would those biggest sort of positive role model pieces for your children be?
I think one is the showing the structure and the discipline and just good habits overall. And 2 is just the your integrity and your humbleness and generosity. Like, and it's so crazy. And so, like, Stuman made a post about this just the other night after Halloween, about like you can tell the difference in parents because of the kids that come to the house, and some like just little things like saying thank you or yes ma'am, sir, yes sir, stuff like that with when they're getting the candy. So like little stuff like that goes a long way. And so like when I'm around the kids, I make sure that I'm always saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am, to anybody, whether it's somebody my age, younger than me, older than me. Have a great day, trying to be super genuine and helpful to anybody and everybody, because I want them to be the same way. So even when they say like, Daddy, who is that person? Why'd you help them? And I don't know that person. Well, they just needed help, baby. Like that's all it was, and Daddy was able to help them. That's why. So I want them to grow up with that same mindset that like help those in need and help anyone and everyone around you, and it'll come back tenfold.
It's awesome. So good karma and stuff as well. What would you say some of the effective strategies would be for yourself in managing and reducing your stress as a father? Because for me, this was key, right? Mine, I told you a little bit different. So I got 23, 18, and 7. But for my first two, like I have no regrets, right? But it was all about, hey, making money. Because for me back then, I thought that making money was building security for them, right? And I'd always justify, hey, working longer hours on all these material bullshit things that I didn't need, right? It's totally changed, and I've evolved and matured over those years. And how I guess deal with my stress has always been the gym, okay? But there's a lot of different pieces that have helped me evolve to get there. So what would you say, sort of those things you're still young, so you're going to grow as well, because dude, your stress level at those ages is only going to go up, okay? So how would you, like, what's those main, I guess, coping mechanisms or ways that you can deal with stress and for others as a father?
A big part of mine is the gym, like you said, but then even though like I know a lot of the stress can come from making sure the kids are okay, a big part of that relieving of stress for me is to actually spend time with them and hang out with them. And because just like you said, like when I first started as an entrepreneur and I didn't know about it, I thought it was all about spending time at work, making money, doing this, doing that, whatever, to make as much money as possible. So, and even like Jordan Peterson says, once you get to $75,000, like there's no change in life. Like, you have everything that you need. It doesn't get any better. So I learned to where like not everything needs to happen today. Like, so that took a lot of stress off me. If somebody blows me up at night or whatever, like, hey, it can wait till tomorrow. Calm down. Nothing, like if you get a bad review, I remember that kind of shit used to be like, oh my God. And now it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And you start to realize like a lot of the shit isn't the end of the world. And like, I remember like starting and thinking like, man, when I do this and this, if we ever get to this level, I hope one day we have this big house or we have this car or this and that. And so you think a lot about like these material items or things that you want to provide for your family, and you forget that it's about who you become on the way there. And like when you do have money, like, and I was telling somebody this the other day, like the whole time working your way up into success, you feel like I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to have this, or I'm going to be a millionaire. And then when you get the money, the things that you enjoy the most don't cost any fucking money, like nothing. And the things that do cost me money are for somebody else, like building my parents a house, or I bought them both cars, things like that. It's not even for me. It's just doing stuff for other people. So, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. So
let me stop you there for a second, because looking at, for me, it took understanding that money wasn't really the be all end all. It was a tool, right? That allowed you to then do other things as a resource for other people, and to do more, I'll put it, good. Because without that, you can't help other people, right? So when people say, hey, money's not important, I say bullshit, because you can't help other people, and you can't help those situations you're talking about, including your children, unless you have money. So what I don't want to ever do in my household is like tell my kids no, or undervalue, because so many, if they go into other people's houses, right, and homes and stuff, and they're like, oh, we don't have the money to do this, and they hear that, or they don't have this and that, like I never want that, because I want the abundance mindset. And I think that's just sort of what you tapped on there, because from that standpoint, it is a tool and a resource. And I want my kids to understand that fully as well. So
yeah, 100%. And they have to know that, like, and I know that I'm capable, and my wife fully understands, like, if shit were to hit the fan today, we're not going to skip a beat. I could go start a whole new company tomorrow, do something else, whatever. We're not going to skip a beat. But like, I want my kids to start to understand that too, especially even though they're young, as they get older, know that, yeah, we're taken care of, but also, and they're still not to that level yet where they understand like how money works, or even the value of money. You know what I mean? Like, but they see that I go to work every day, and some days I don't want to, but I have to. and like, baby, I want to come do this with you. I want to come over here and stay home with you from school, but I have to go to work.
Yeah.
Like, because there's certain things that daddy has to do, so I don't ever have to tell you no.
Yeah.
So a lot of it comes down to balance too, and being able to try to figure out, and it's never equally balanced, but just making sure that you have things scheduled and that you're allowing certain time for your wife, certain time for the kids,
I
time
think
for
that goes
work.
back to not balance. That goes back to priorities and what you prioritize.
Correct.
So, let me ask you another question. How can you stay involved in your child's, like, your children are still younger, so they're not in school and stuff right yet. But one of the big things I think, and I sort of feel even for Ryder, like my 7-year-old, I'm like, holy shit, like it's not the same as when my 23-year-old, right? Like there's all this wokeness and all this craziness in our stuff right now. So it's like, it's more important though. How can you stay involved in your child's education and school life to get them that, where, like you said, those values and different things? Because so many of my friends and stuff, and like my other ones were private school and different things, but like so many people I've seen like are homeschool, or let's say even like Sal, right? Like they basically went and took all the teachers and started their own damn school. So because they want those values and different things, right?
Yeah.
But how can you stay involved in sort of, and do you think in that education school life, just as a dad?
So one thing that I make sure that I do is I try to one, as far as like their education is concerned, like both Cyrus isn't in school yet, but both Cohen and Evelyn go to the same private school. So, and Cohen, he's in like pre-K, they call it pre-3 because he was 3 when it started. He's 4 now. But the Evelyn is in 1st grade, so she has some homework every now and then, not every night, but like I make sure that I'll do like math worksheets with her every night or something with her every night to better. So even though when she doesn't have homework, we're doing stuff to get her ahead of the curve. And when she does have homework, a lot of times they'll give it to her like, this is what you got to do Monday, this is Tuesday, this is what we'll sit down on Monday and do the whole week. And like at first she was like, I don't understand, like, Daddy, this is all I have to do. And I'm like, baby, look, if we do all this, we really don't have to do any the rest of the week. Like, it's all right if we take a day off, So, but we don't. We do homework every night. She's also it's pretty cool. The school has an app to where remember when you go to the fair and they have like the horses and you roll the ball and based off the horse would race across. So like you can log on against other people that are in her class, and it's popping up like math questions.
Okay.
And so the faster you answer those math questions, the faster your little horse moves. And so it's like a bunch of little competitions. And so we'll do that as well. And she's got like programs on there that she can finish. So we do a lot of stuff like that. But as far as like school events, I try to go to whether it's in the middle of the day, whether it's, I mean, there was even one the other day that I was running late to, and I had to call a buddy of mine that's a cop. And I was like, hey, there's about to be a blue Porsche coming down 78, going about $130. I'm running late to my daughter's thing. Tell them not to pull me over.
Yeah.
And he was like, bro, you're good. We all just sat down to eat barbecue. And I was like, all right. So I went to her little cheerleading. It was a little cheerleading performance, and it lasted like maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But then I left and I said,
Those
hey,
are
y'all
the things that they remember.
That's what they remember.
Yeah.
So I went back by and paid the whole police department's barbecue bill. Yeah, make sure they were good. Make sure they remember me too.
Benefit of living in a smaller town too, right? So
correct, yeah. So, but no, you're exactly right. They don't care about how much, like right now at this age, they don't care about how much. And when you buy them toys, they're happy for 2, and then they forget about that toy and they move on to something else. So they don't really care. At the end of the day, they remember what events you were at.
Yeah.
You went to the fair with them, you took them here, you were at their cheerleading thing, they looked up and waved to you, or their little chorus recital or whatever it may be. So that's super, super important to me that I'm at those events.
No, same here. Another thing. So how can you foster a healthy and active lifestyle with your children? Like basically promoting like physical, but not only physical. I think you've touched on a little bit like with some of schoolwork, but mental health as well, because that's a big important factor, right? So they're going to see, of course, and they're going to copy what you do, right? Okay, on the physical side. But, and I guess, I don't know if they're playing sports or doing anything yet, but how do you see that? Like, how can you foster that? You and your wife are both physical and fitness people. So,
from a mental aspect, I'm always praising their mom, and I'm praising them on a regular basis, like telling my son, like, dude, look at your muscles, man. Look how big they're getting. Like, you've
That's
been doing
awesome.
push, and it like gets him excited. He'll be like, yeah, dad, watch this. And he like wants to do some push-ups or something, you know. And same thing with my daughter, like, you know, how pretty she is or how beautiful she is. And now she tells me, I know, dad. And I'm like, okay, okay. um, and I
That's
tell her she gets it from me though. Um, but from like the physical standpoint, so we moved about a year and a half ago and bought a bunch of land to where, because I didn't want, one, I was tired of the HOA, I was gonna go crazy, but two, I wanted them to be able to play. And it's not like you, like when we were growing up and you could play in the streets, or it wasn't like that at all. So but now we have our driveways about a third of a mile long. It
I
goes
saw
back
your
into the
Uber
woods.
posts.
Yeah, and then it just opens up into just sheer just openness with a pool and a playground and then just land. So whether we go riding side by sides, whether they want to hit baseballs, whether they just want to run around with the dogs, you know, whatever, they do that. But then we get on the playground and they like doing, Evelyn loves gymnastics and she's super strong. So I'll have her do like, I'm like, hey, before you do this, see if you can do any pull-ups. And so then she starts getting into it's like a competition to her. And so every day she's like, watch me, daddy, watch how many I can do. And so she'll sit there and do pull-ups on the rings, like outside on the playground.
That's
And then
awesome.
Cohen wants to do them because he wants to do what she's doing. And same thing, we have a gymnastics bar inside. So I always try to do stuff active with them when we're playing. Granted, there are times when they want to play on their iPad as we're starting to settle down for the night. Or they want to play like I'll try to get family games that we can play together. Like I just bought a new Go Fish game and they fucking love that. So, but stuff that we can all do together inside as well, like when I get home. But especially if it's a weekend, we're outside. Like we're
That's awesome.
playing physical and they love it.
No, I know that's a big thing because me growing up on the farm with tons of land and stuff, and it's definitely not the same in the cities and stuff now. There's a bunch of craziness. So
Nah, and then when we were I mean, when we were growing up, shit, that's all we did. If you wanted to play, you went outside.
yeah,
And like we didn't have no, I didn't have, we didn't have phones, you didn't, or cell phones, you didn't have like all sorts of different game systems and everything, which we still don't. But
no iPad, no nothing like that.
yeah, I tell them, like, all I had was a ball and a wall.
Yeah,
Like, and I'd keep myself occupied for hours.
I think it's going to be down the road. Like the stories, like when my parents tell me, "Oh yeah, we used to walk 20 miles to school through snow and blah blah blah." It's, where we tell them like, "Shit, I didn't have this and that." They're like already sort of like, "Hey, Dad, you're like blah 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 blah."
Yeah, it's wild.
It's crazy. Um, I guess you mentioned it a little bit, but how do you celebrate and acknowledge the small and big achievements in your children's life? And I guess it goes back as well. Because you're gonna have, like, you got three, right? So you're gonna have, at least with us, we experience like three totally different personalities, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the one way that I celebrate and I interact with Christian isn't going to be the same way that sort of sets Rowan to want to achieve different things, and either with Ryder. So how do you like look at like acknowledging those small and big achievements? And I know you said, hey, you praise everyone. I love that. And that's, I think, important, especially with your wife as well, right? Just because them seeing that, and even from like I call it a chivalry standpoint and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But those are things that your kids pick up. So how would you, what do you, I don't know, tell any other fathers or any other up and coming dads that is a big thing that you believe is important?
I mean, I think the big thing is like, one, I'll over exaggerate. If they do something, whether even if it's something small, like they got 100 on their homework. Homework's not a big deal, or it was, you know, we did one little math problem and they got the math problem, whatever it is. Even if it's something small, like that I noticed that they do, like Cohen is notorious for going and grabbing a popsicle, and then he'll take the popsicle wrapper and he'll stick it down in the, like, between the cushions and the couch, like I don't see, like I'm not looking at him. And I'm like, Cohen, go throw that away, bud. That's your popsicle. Go throw that away. So like if I see him do it on his own,
Yeah.
like I overpraise him for that. To let him know like how proud I am of him. And then on top of that, if there's things that they do that I notice that they're doing stuff like that and kind of stepping their game up, so to speak, I'll take them to do something. And it might be something that I was going to take them to do anyways. Like this weekend, I plan on taking them to Alyssa's going to get a tattoo, so I'm taking all the kids to like one of those jump place things.
Yeah. Nice.
So but like I'll make it because you did this, you know, because you did such a good job of this week, or because I noticed you were doing this, I'm taking you here to celebrate. Like, keep up the good work.
So rewarding behavior. That's awesome.
Reward behavior, yeah.
Cool. Question, I think, like going back and talking about, like you said, your parents were the most important parents, same one with me, right? Different things. So in self-reflection, do you see that your experiences of growing up, like in your upbringing, you're seeing behavior that then you're reflecting as you become a father and you become a dad and the kids grow? And do you see that relationship with your parents like influencing your parenting style? Or Alyssa's side, like I don't know if you know her parents and stuff as well, or like do you see that coming through you or in her?
I would say it's definitely, I would say I probably definitely have a good mixture of my mom and dad when it comes to a parenting style. I definitely catch myself, and Alyssa does too, but more so my mom, obviously, because she was around my whole life with my dad. Definitely catches me interacting with the kids the same way my dad would interact with me, whether it's the way I stand or hold them, or even to like the dumb dad jokes that I say that they don't even get and just look at me like I'm crazy. But I'll hear all the time, like, oh my God, that's something your dad would say. And I'm like, whatever. So I told the kids the other day, they're like, Dad, you're weird. And I'm like, well, you're going to be weird too. And they're like, no. And I said, well, is Papa Joe weird? And they said, yeah. And I go, well, I got my weirdness from Papa Joe. So y'all are going to be weird too. And they're like, no, we're not, Dad. No, we're not.
So
like, all right, we'll see.
I guess going in to wrap it up, what I think, like as you grow and mature and you're building your businesses and different things, building your family, right? There's a bunch of different things. You guys will be building a bunch of different memories, but what do you want to leave as your legacy? What do you want your kids to remember you as, right? Todd Price for, hey, as dad, as business owner, as fitness guy, as superhero, as friggin' everything. Like, what's that legacy that you want to leave?
From when?
I think all of that. I think the superhero for sure. You know, I think the business, the success. Like, one big thing to me is that when my dad would, like, growing up, and still to this day, when I meet somebody that grew up with my dad or has known my dad for a long time, I will always hear a story that I haven't heard before. And like the stories that I hear about him were kind of crazier. Like, you got to hear this one time your dad was at a bar and this happened, but still, like, I want to hear them. And like, it's cool to me to hear like how many people were scared of my dad, but it's always in a good way of like, man, the things that your dad did for me, or he always looked out for me in school, or I had some boys try to jump me one time and your dad did this. And, you know, like, it's always like a positive type story. So I think one big thing for me is, besides the business and success and the superhero type aspect, is I want to be remembered and I want stories told about me, but similar things like how I helped change people's life, how I impacted other people. Not like your dad had a lot of money, your dad had nice cars. Like, I don't care about that shit. I want my kids running into people when I'm gone that they don't even know, and the people telling them stories about like, your dad changed my life this way, your dad touched me this way, or drastically impacted me with this way. Like, that's what I care about. Like, to me, that's building a true legacy. So
if you had to wrap up, like, I guess, definition of a dad, right? And you only had 1 to 2 words to use, what would that 1 or 2 word sentence be?
If it was between me and my dad, and there's a story behind it, but the 2 words would be right boot. Right boot.
Right boot. Okay.
So, and do you know where that's from?
You can't just leave it there. You got to unpack that. So
yeah, you know where it's from though?
No.
Okay. So me and my dad's favorite movie growing up was Roadhouse.
Wrote it. Okay.
And
yeah.
So there's one part where they walk in and the guy's got the blade on his boot. And so Dalton looks over, who I just got my dad a new puppy and he named the puppy Dalton. So Dalton looks over and tells him right boot. So that's always been like me and my dad's way of saying like, I got your back. So even when I was graduating, when I was a senior in high school, and like they did the whole senior thing, and your parents could write a long letter to you, and each senior had their own page or whatever in your yearbook. My mom wrote this long fucking, love you, so proud of you, blah blah blah. My dad wrote right boot.
That's
That's
awesome.
all he wrote. So I mean, but like I said, those would be the two words that I would say. But the meaning behind it is much deeper to me in the sense of it's more so I have your back and I will do whatever it takes to make sure that you're taken care of on any front of life that we go through.
I guess with it being like, and this isn't to put down anyone else, but what would you say as, I guess, parting piece of advice for any dad that, or upcoming dad, right, that might not be in the mindset, the physical condition that they want to be, right? And they sort of use dad bod, as many people say, hey, it's like refers to an informal and humorous way of defining, right? For someone who doesn't have certain circumstances. And to me, like I said, that's all, it's bullshit, right? It's a bunch of excuses. But what piece of advice would you give to, I don't know, those individuals to try to help them get into that mentality? They're maybe coming into fatherhood, right? Maybe they're young, whatever, and or older, but what piece of advice might you give them, and whether they take it or not, that's totally up to them. But just,
I mean, the biggest thing, and I could go so many ways with this, and I could talk on this all day, but it literally, it influences everything that you do. And so it's not only, like you'll hear a lot of people say like, I might need to start working out so I can keep up with these kids. Like, okay, yeah, you do need to do it for that. But at the same hand, like your kids see what you're doing. So like if you're eating McDonald's, they're going to do that. And then you're starting them at an early life of health issues and things of that nature. And you don't wish that on your kids.
Yeah.
And then they see the work ethic that you put in. So the work ethic that they see you do, whether it's in the gym, that's also going to transpire over to business and anything else that you do in life. And like, I'm a firm believer that how you do one thing is how you do everything.
everything, yeah.
So like I go balls to the wall in the gym, at work, when I'm with my family, like it's family time, like we're here, we're doing this. So I feel like if you've never done that and changed up your diet, changed up your nutrition, focused on working out, focused on your mindset, focused on all those different things, if you've never put yourself in that discipline, you won't ever understand how to be structured and have that time with your family, have that time with your wife, have your business mindset, have your family time. Like, and I feel like it's so important, and especially within the gym. And I mean, I'm kind of biased to bodybuilding and to working out. I've had other guys try to get in debates with me that CrossFit is harder than bodybuilding, and I'm like, maybe it is. It is for me. I think it's a skill thing, but so is hitting a baseball, so is shooting a basketball, but that's more of a talent thing. But when it comes down to discipline, there is nothing more strict than bodybuilding or building the physique that you want. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you just start some sort of regimen, one, yes, now you can keep up with your kids, but two, it's something that your kids look up to. Like, and that's the biggest thing for me is I want my kids to look up to me and see my work ethic, see that I have the muscles, that I'm like the superheroes they're buying on the shelf. Like I couldn't imagine. I think it would be the worst feeling in the world if my kid picked up a superhero thing from Target or Walmart or whatever and said, "Daddy, why don't you look like this?"
Yeah.
Like they all pick it up and they're like, "Look, Daddy, it looks like you." Like that's what they tell me. Like if it went any other way, like I couldn't comprehend that.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
well, I think it's like if you're going to build a house, right? Let's say these other guys that are in shape, whatever, they're going to go and they're working with their architect and they're paying money, right? They're not going to cut any corners. Okay. They're going to have everything exactly what they want. They're the architect of their life as well, right? So there's no excuse why you can't architect that life and then go and build that off that blueprint. But let's wrap up with two other things. Okay. Two other questions and we'll call it. So what is, I guess, your number one most favorite thing currently to do with your kids? If you had to pick one thing out of 7 days, whatever it is, what do you look forward to? Or you just like, hey, I know this is what we're doing.
Probably my favorite thing is getting home at night. And I mean, besides traveling, which is kind of like a random thing when we'll go random places, but like my favorite thing on a regular basis is coming home at night and we'll play a game. So like right now, the game that we play is the Go Fish game. They want to play that. So we'll play one game of that unless I can sneak a second game in while Mama's putting Cyrus down. I'll sneak us a second game in, and just talking to them and seeing like, because day to day their little personalities change and they learn new little words or this or that, but then also asking them how their day went. And and then once we finish the games, we'll lay down and we'll either put a movie on. They'll either want to watch one of Daddy's movies to fall asleep to, and they lay down and cuddle up with me.
Yeah, that's my favorite time.
So I mean, I love that. Or we'll sit there and play like your 3 favorite things. So like Evelyn will be like, what's your 3 favorite foods? And so I have to tell my 3 favorites. She's got to tell her 3 favorite, and Cohen's got to have his 3 favorite. And then Cohen will pick a subject. So and they love doing that. So but it's cool to see how those 3 favorite things change over time too. So
it'll evolve and become way more. We still do that right now. We'll sit down at the dinner table and he has these cards, but then you go around the whole table with everyone having to tell their stuff. So what's, I guess the last thing I'll ask you is, what would be one thing that you'd say you have to think, oh, holy crap, they're catching me doing this? Like something that, let's say, for instance, we tell our kids they eat healthy, whatever. For me, I'll tell you, like, it's a big joke, right? Going through, like, I don't know, my little guy, 7 years old, never eaten McDonald's or anything like that, right? I guess the worst thing I'll say probably is Chick-fil-A. But I used to call it, like, going through the drive-through, you have to pay like a tax, right? And the tax is like giving me some of your damn food. But then they'd get older and they wouldn't leave any food, right? So I was taking it off the start. But what's one thing, like, if they know, hey, dad's on prep or dad's doing this, and then I don't know, it's me eating an M&M or something, like, holy crap, I know they're watching me and they're going to say something, but what would it be, that one thing that they might see you do it? Or I know yours are littler still, but
if they see me, like, they're pretty blunt. And normally if I'm eating it, I'm not just eating it, it's because we went there and to take them to it. But like, if I have a pizza, like for like a refeed, or if I have an ice cream, like I take them to get an ice cream, they're like, they won't necessarily say anything, but they're looking at me like, Dad, like, what the hell are you doing? Type that. You can just tell it's like awkward. It's weird for them because they're so used to, for so long, they would, like, Evelyn would be like, Daddy, try this candy, and it'd be like something so small, and I'd be like, I can't, baby, like, and now I'll take them to get ice cream, or every other weekend we go to breakfast as the whole family, and I'll get pancakes, and it used to be like, I wouldn't do that. That was like a cheat meal or maybe a refeed meal with no syrup, but now every other weekend we go and I get it, and it's become like a tradition. So
dude, I love it. I love all the memories, all the things you're telling us and stuff. So I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today and to give people I guess some insight into Todd Price and the kids and stuff. I'll have to definitely have you back on, dude. I love seeing the pictures behind you. We were talking before, my whiteboards here in my office are all over, colored in different things. But where can everyone find you? So on social, give us your social, give us your where they can learn more about Todd Price and some of your companies, and then follow you on Instagram. I have to say, guys, one of the things he does have, he has Motivational Monday, a lot of just different great content, and just a lot of value, right, in the stuff he provides on social. So definitely make sure you're following him on social.
So my website is officialtoddprice.com. On Instagram, it's got all the handles and all the links to all my social media, but my Instagram is official Todd Price, and then my Facebook is Zachary Todd Price. I had to put the Zachary on there since I'm verified. They had to match it with my ID. So you can find me on there. You can sign up for the Monday morning motivation off of Facebook, and every Monday you'll get a text with either some motivation or some challenge or something just to think about going forward, whether it be with family or business or things of that nature, just to try to become the best version of yourself. Yeah, and I'll tell any of the dads, upcoming dads, fathers that are watching and stuff, guys, definitely follow him for fitness. You got routines, he's got supplements, guys. You need to try Priceless Nutrition if not. Definitely connect with him, ask any questions. He's open, and he always is answering questions across his Instagram and stories. So guys, follow him. I appreciate you again very much today, Todd. I know that you took an hour out of your busy time, so appreciate it. We'll get this up and circulated, and thank you very much, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll look forward to chatting with you all soon.